up, everybody? Welcome to the Early Edge NFL pre-game kickoff show brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. Joining me, an all-star cast of miscreants and dangerous people. EC, Eric Cohen, Alex Selznick, a.k.a. Propstarz, Danny Brasco, Mackenzie Brooks. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Ken's in your Eagles outfit. But I can't. You have long hair, so I can't tell what number that is.
I have Jordan Davis on. Got to rep the Georgia Bulldog.
Now we're talking.
Eagles. Yeah. Got to rep my boys from back down south.
I'm going sweater because I'm actually now insanely to think going Eagles fandom against my Giants, rooting against the direction of the franchise so we can tank towards a top 5 pick and so the Eagles can cash my future to win the division. So Ken's, I'm wearing Eagles green with you. Go Birds. I can't
That's a brilliant. Yeah, Danny, that's a great take. I mean, your team's going nowhere. You might listen. It's all about cashing bets. That's all we care about, right? You root against your fandom to cash bets.
That's it. Exactly. You had your happiness. You wipe your tears with money.
I quit caring about my NFL team years ago. Thankfully, it was the Carolina Panthers. Cool. I got friends who text me like, dude, like, all right, so here's the plan. We just tank for 2 years and then get Arch Manning. It's like, one, that is not a good headspace to be in. And two, do you remember Eli Manning? He wouldn't go to the Chargers. We had a really good roster. You think that you're letting Arch go to the Panthers with David Tepper running that show? Please. Robbie, no Eagles uniform for you tonight.
No Eagles uniform, but we're repping the Eagles in spirit. Love the Eagles, Bird Gang. We got bird on bird crime tonight.
Oh, yeah. I love bird on bird crime.
Yeah.
Notably, in this game, Jordan Davis, a grown-ass man out of the SEC, much like half of the Eagles roster, quite frankly, including the grown-ass man, the grownest assest of the men, AJ, I don't know, it's not working. AJ Brown, the Ole Miss wide receiver, is out for this game. One stat I saw, and I think this was via Fantasy Points, apologies if not, but Devontae Smith, small sample size alert, 36% target share when AJ Brown is out, which could mean an interesting twist for this Eagles offense property if we think that they're going to, they have Jahan Dotson on the other side, and they just elevated Paris Campbell, who will be active tonight. I mean, it's not or likely active. We'll see in a minute. But, it could be a one-man show on offense in terms of the passing game for wide receivers.
Yeah, as a prop better, a fantasy player, one really nice thing about the Eagles is since Jalen Hurts has been playing quarterback here, they've had an incredibly condensed target distribution. It's A.J. Brown, it's Devontae Smith, and then it's Dallas Goedert, who we'll talk about a lot during this stream, who I like a lot tonight. He's a bit of a distant third, but those are the three players that have really consistent, reliable target floors. And then there's just a mix of guys, tertiary options afterwards who get a few targets here or there, but no one with really a reliable floor. So without A.J. Brown tonight, we're going to see a lot of Devontae Smith, a lot of Dallas Goedert, who I think is set for a big night potentially. Love this matchup for him. Kellen Moore loves utilizing the tight end. I also think it's an advantageous matchup against a Falcons defense that gave up the 4th most yards to opposing tight ends last season. Also, Dallas Goedert runs a route on every single Jalen Hurts dropback. So elite route participation. Also with Goddard, he has one of the deepest A-dots of any tight end in the NFL, which you also love to see as well. So he's getting targets deep down to the field. So when you get an uptick, that really lends itself to a potential spike week or a ceiling game. So I like Dallas Goedert, obviously, and I really like potentially playing his alt lines here in addition to his yardage total and his receptions line.
Very spicy. Somebody jokes, let's hope I can follow the chat. Yeah, see, I can follow the chat. If you have a specific question about this game, whether it's a player prop, something on the side or total, put it in the chat. I'll star it. When we get to the player props, we'll circle back and answer all of those. So you don't ask it 12 times. It's being starred. I'm watching it. I don't think we'll be spammed by my son tonight, mercifully. I Did you guys, by the way, did you guys hear that last night? I don't know if you saw. I didn't post it because it just felt like I'm not going to. I don't want to encourage him too much, but he's 10. Want to encourage him to watch the show. But he wrote in the chat. He said it's kazoo time, and then he put his iPad down and proceeded to walk up and down the hallway in my house, blasting a kazoo as loudly as possible, and asked me after the show if y'all could hear it. I don't think you could, thankfully.
No, that's a pretty high-tech mic you got going on over there if you didn't hear it.
I was muting myself like crazy.
Always what broadcast producers love to hear. Hey, I'm going to just go in the back and play a kazoo. Is that good? Can you hear?
I'm going to go blast a kazoo. Yeah, if you got a first touchdown score you like, throw it in the chat too. We'll toss up the listeners' picks at the end as well. Any thoughts from UEC on the Eagles offense? Saquon Barkley, fantastic first week. AJ Brown out, Devontae Smith. As Prop said, we could see it condensed here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, did you have to bring up last week as a Packer fan? I mean, that's cruel. I thought we were past that.
You won
time
with Malik
ago.
Willis. You picked the Eagles and you won with Malik Willis. Come on.
There is. I was all over Indy yesterday too. Not that I like to bet against my team, but I thought there was no chance Malik Willis would ever lead another NFL team to a win. Nonetheless, I'm concerned if I'm an Eagle fan tonight, and I don't say that. I don't mean that bad towards Ken's or Proppy. I just don't have a good feeling about them tonight. Atlanta needs this game. If they lose this game, they're already 2 back behind Tampa and New Orleans in the NFC South. This is a desperate team. Philly looks at it, they're like, the Giants stink. Sorry, Danny. The Commanders stink. The Cowboys apparently stink. So we can lose this game, and it doesn't really matter. Whereas Atlanta's a more desperate team. I think Atlanta's going to make this a game. And with A.J. Brown being out, it leads me more to that.
Now, counterpoint, Shane Gillis is at the game in an Eagles uniform. Does that change your opinion at all?
I love the 5.5 either way.
Shout out to Shane Gillis.
I love Shane Gillis.
The stars are definitely out in Philly tonight, including our guy, Jason Kelsey, is already having a great time himself.
Jason Kelsey, isn't he in a mummer's outfit wasted somewhere? I think I saw that on Twitter.
Yes,
Jason,
now at the Monday Night Football ESPN desk, but amongst other things, he is there.
I'm sure you guys have seen that Jason and Kylie Kelsey YouTube TV commercial where they're talking about how to watch Sunday Ticket. There's this little smile / smirk at the end that Kylie Kelsey makes that cracks me up because it's like you can see her being like, I can't believe that this is all happening. Like I hang out with Taylor. Like, I mean, she's like Jason Kelsey. If he retires 2 years ago, which he thought about doing, after he gets the Super Bowl, he's like, all right, I'm out. If he retires, you know what I mean? Like there's still none of this is, it's crazy. He's like an insanely famous person now. She's insanely famous. She's all over Good Morning America. She's hanging out with Taylor Swift. She's doing YouTube TV commercials. And you see this smirk at the end where she's like, this is so ridiculous. I can't believe this is happening.
It's quite the life. It is quite the life of Kylie Kelsey.
Indeed. For the Falcons, I don't know if we talked about this on, I don't know. I've talked about this, but Kirk Cousins last week, 1 snap under center for the Atlanta offense. The rest of the time out of pistol or out of the shotgun. The Falcons go out of their way to run him out, like do play action stuff in practice this past week to say, oh, no, we can do that. It's fine. His Achilles is fine. Everything's fine. As the house burns around them and Michael Penix starts warming up. Danny, how concerned are you for Cousins in this offense, given what we saw, a really run-heavy offense, which kind of flies in the face of, what you think you would get with Cousins in town and with Zach Robinson calling the plays?
Yeah, and the latter is why I'm mostly concerned. I think I'm highly concerned. Zach Robinson going pistol heavy was a little curious. I understand Cousins coming off an Achilles injury. You want to be careful, but he didn't even attempt to throw more than 20 yards down the field. So average ADOT super low, going pistol and shotgun, not going to do those 5-step drops under center. I think they're going to play it really, really careful with him. And, until they feel he's 100%, you could see some weird play calling. I don't know. I know it's been 1 week, so I don't want to bring the pitchforks out yet, but I'm a little wary of the offensive coordinator Robinson here. I want to see what he does. They're lucky they have Bijan to be able to go run heavy if Cousins is not able to find his downfield threats, and I think they'll continue to look to do that. But Yeah, I'm worried about his play calling and his style and what Cousins can bring to the table early on in the season, at least.
Yeah, jump on in.
Just to add to that, yeah, with Kirk Cousins, I'm interested to see if he's able to plant off of that foot in this game. Clearly unable to week one, as Danny mentioned. To me, it could be just a rust issue for Kirk Cousins, or he could legitimately not be operating at 100%. I think it's too small of a sample size, considering he didn't play a single snap in the preseason. I kind of look at that week one performance more or less as a preseason game. So I think we'll learn about Kirk Cousins tonight, whether or not he's still shaking some rust off, or if he's legitimately operating at less than 100%, or frankly, he could be potentially cooked. But yeah, the one thing that was encouraging from Atlanta's offense, though, at the very least, Zach Robinson heavily utilized Bijan Robinson. He had 89% of the backfield snaps. We remember last season, inexplicably, Tyler Algier received close to 50% of the running back carries in that backfield after spending a top 10 pick on Bijan Robinson. Makes 0 sense. So at least the Falcons got that right. They fed Bijan, which does make sense to me considering whether Kirk's rusty or not 100%. You want to rely on your young horse in Bijan. The Falcons certainly have invested a lot in the offensive line as well, having one of the better run blocking units in football. So I expect a heavy game plan or a heavy dose of Bijan tonight. The Eagles last week, only the Rams were worse than EPA allowed per rush in week one. So I really think Vic Fangio, as the personnel start to grasp the system, there's gonna be some the Eagles defense is going to take time to adjust to the new coordinator as well. So I look at this as a matchup that the Falcons can have success. Is Bijan on the ground tonight? I like him to have a heavy workload. Also, limit your exposure to Kirk Cousins, especially if he's operating at less than 100%. So one good thing the Falcons did was at least they utilized Bijan heavily.
Yeah, and Proppy, last Monday on the show, I talked about Aaron Rodgers and the short A dot, and it came true. He didn't throw the ball down the field, and I think you're going to see that a lot from Kirk Cousins again tonight. Guys like Kyle Pitts, who runs a very short depth of target, 6 to 12 yards. I think you're going to see him get a lot of catches or get a lot of targets. Same with Bijan Robinson out of the backfield. He had 5 catches last week. I think you're going to see something like that again because Cousins doesn't want to stand back there and get crushed by Kansas boy Jalen Carter and others. You just don't want to. You don't want to take that chance.
I will add, though, that this is another matchup. I think last week versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh does have really good boundary corners, which does explain why you didn't see a lot of targets for Drake London in that matchup. Quinyon Mitchell, rookie for the Eagles. The Eagles have a little bit of struggle, or they're struggling guarding the perimeter and the boundaries, or at least in week one they were. So I actually think this is a matchup, in addition to running the football, we could see Kirk Cousins test this Eagles secondary. The one area the Eagles defend well, when they have Avonte Maddox, the nickel corner, healthy, they're very good at covering opposing slot wide receivers, which leads me to another Falcons prop that I like quite a bit. More on that shortly. But this matchup looks like one where, I think we'll learn a lot about Kirk Cousins here, because I do think the Eagles can be beat on the outside down the field if Kirk Cousins is in fact close to being healthy.
As I mentioned, if you have a question about a specific prop, put in the chat. Also, smash that like button. I forgot about the rule of, you mentioned, can I do a little asterisk like in Taylor Swift's name? It's like you get absolutely blasted by chat. It's like my man Break Bread here is like, the game is starting, buddy. That game is starting for another 50 minutes. You could simmer. Anywho, Kirk Cousins didn't attempt a single pass beyond 20 yards down the field last week. I think, EC, to your point, you can think about it. He doesn't want to stand back there and deal with that Eagles pass rush. They have a very good offensive line. I also think, when you're dealing with an Achilles, you got to drive the ball a lot further. It requires a lot more physical strength in your legs and your entire body to drive the ball down the field. And that's a little riskier, particularly against a good defense. Maybe they take some more risk tonight against an Eagles team that plays fast with Kellen Moore, ton of plays, and should potentially generate a shootout. Let's get to our picks on the game. Danny, you dipping your toe back in the old primetime under here. 45.5 Eagles minus 5.5.
Welcome to my under club. Who's joining? Who's joining the season-long ride? And I don't want to be a broken record here, so I'm going to highlight the ones that I specifically will play, but you can expect to see my primetime unders up on the SportsLine site for each game. And here we are, Monday Night Football. Under 46 is the number you got, if you got it earlier on SportsLine. And for a lot of reasons that we've talked about earlier, I think I'm going to hammer home why this game can go under this total. Again, Kirk Cousins and his struggles with the offense in week one, going out of that heavy pistol formation. I have a lot of questions about what Zach Robinson is doing with this offense. If he has struggles against an Eagles defensive front that can bring pressure, and they're going to look to protect Cousins, they're going to go run heavy. The Eagles could very much do the same thing with A.J. Brown out. I think the market may be undervaluing the significance of A.J. Brown. The Eagles for so long, and Proppy can tell you about their target share, right? How heavy they funnel their target share to Smith and Brown. Without Brown, for so long, the point was made about emphasizing middle of the field for Jalen Hurts. Get him working over the middle of the field. And without Brown now, I think the Eagles could struggle there a little bit too. The Falcons defense looks much improved. Justin Simmons, Matt Judon, really great additions. And they were, with the offense doing them zero favors, they were able to stop the Steelers to 6 field goal drives and got beat on 6 field goals. What are you going to do? You get Boswell. Like we saw Kaimi Fairbairn cover the spread last night, like I called for the Texans. These kickers are just winning games. But don't be surprised if you see a lot of field goals in this game going under with teams getting shut down in the red zone. I like the matchup here, even though we have high flying offense and the Eagles that went way over in their opener. The Brazil field is not this field, and I think this matchup is poised to go right under a key number of 46. I'm going to call landing on 45, and if you got it late, you might lose.
EC, what say you on side or total?
Sorry, I had the mute button on. Sorry about that. All right, I'm going with the Falcons plus 5.5 here, Brinson. I think Atlanta has a real chance of winning this game. Originally, I picked the game at 27-21 Philadelphia, but without A.J. Brown. And as I mentioned earlier, I think that's a key factor here. As Danny said, the Falcons have upgraded on defense. Key for me, and Proppy talked about it, can Atlanta establish that running game? If they can, they'll keep a fairly clean pocket for Kirk Cousins. And I think the Philly defense can be picked apart. I'm going to call this one. This one could go either way. Give me 24-23 Eagles. Close.
Proppy, what you got?
Don't have a strong take on the side or the total. If I had to lean one way, it'd probably be Atlanta and the points here. I just think it's a bit rich for the Eagles as they adjust to Vic Fangio's defense. I also think this is a bounce back spot for Atlanta potentially after that week one performance. I do think we could see them control tempo a bit, keep the Eagles offense off the field, ride Bijan. I like this matchup for him against this Eagles rush defense that really struggled week one.
A fun fact that people don't know, Kirk Cousins undefeated in primetime as a Atlanta Falcons quarterback. So take that for what it's worth in its lengthy tenure with the Atlanta Falcons. I like Atlanta getting the 5.5 too. It's moved up enough. No AJ Brown. I think it's a situation where you're more likely. I think it's gonna go over. Now I think we'll see points. I think we'll see both teams move the ball. Now, they don't execute in the red zone. It won't get there. But with the Falcons and Kirk Cousins and at 5.5 up from whatever it was, you suddenly have a real opportunity where maybe the Eagles are up, but they storm through the back door. And I think we could have seen that with the Packers if Jordan Love doesn't get hurt. Maybe he didn't pull it off because they were pretty far away. But I do think Cousins serious backdoor potential here, throwing it with all of those weapons, whether it's Pitts, Drake London, or Bijan Robinson. And you lose at home to the Steelers and Justin Fields in week one, you really got to regroup and come out strong because, as you said, EC, down two games to the Saints and the Buccaneers looking up in that division. You're basically sitting there with the stinky Carolina Panthers. Nobody wants to be in that spot. I like the Falcons catching 5.5. Kens, what does ye old model like tonight?
The old model, I promise this isn't any bias code by me, but we do lean to the Philadelphia side here to cover the 5.5. It was a 10-point game before the A.J. Brown news. Now you're looking at a 6-point game. So again, just barely like that. do like the over here. I saw people talking about the team total overs. Falcons team total sitting at 19.5, I believe. So we lean towards that over, assuming that means pretty much the same thing for the Eagles as well. And I know we're talking about Kirk Cousins here and this offensive line that is improved on paper. It feels like the Bengals, but we're still in week 2. It's hard for that to all to come together immediately. And if he's not mobile, he's going to have a hard time looking over Jordan Davis, looking over Jalen Carter. And if you can't get mobile and get away from those guys, you're going to have a really hard time seeing the rest of your team. I'm not convinced that there's much chemistry between himself and Kyle Pitts and Drake London just yet. So I'm willing to bet Philly at home to cover this 5.5. And we would lean over as well. We give it a 65% chance to go over 46 points.
I have a question for you guys. We saw one high-profile quarterback get benched today, Brinson's Panthers here. If Kirk Cousins comes out and face plants, looks like he did week 1, week 2, is there a chance that Michael Penix is under center week 3?
Typically they say Philadelphia is a great place to have a rookie have his first few snaps in the NFL. I'm sure that's a really healthy, nice environment for
of course. Yeah, especially if you have the Eagles minus 5.5. Sure, it'd be great. Listen, Proppy, I just think what Carolina did today was so stupid, by the way. That just makes no sense. You might as well just trade the guy right now. Hey, Miami needs a quarterback. Go trade Bryce Young there. Seriously, though, I don't think Penix is ready yet unless Cousins is legitimately hurt. I think Penix needs to sit a little bit longer. There's a reason I don't think he's played at all yet.
I do think sorry, just go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say, Cousins, for all his Monday night woes, we know he's 3-10 straight up and against the spread in Monday night. After the 1 p.m. window, he's terrible as well. But he has won and covered 3 of his last 4. So his record is ugly, but as of late, he's turning the corner. So who knows? Maybe the Monday night woes are behind us. Maybe he's regressing to the mean, or maybe he turns back into a pumpkin and goes into Monday Night Cousins.
Maybe it's a Mike Zimmer thing. Yeah, like Mike Zimmer kind of plays defensive ball in prime time and doesn't want to give it up. Kevin O'Connell comes in. By the way, Kevin O'Connell, quarterback whisperer. This guy's unbelievable. Hot take. Kevin O'Connell's the top 5 coach in the NFL right now.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Let's matriculate our way to our player props. EC, what you got?
All right, we got 2 of them for you. All right, Proppy, and I hate to be on the opposite side of something you said earlier. Jaden Reed from the slot absolutely torched Devontae Maddox last week. Now, was it a fluke? Yeah, it could be. But I'm going to roll. Kyle Pitts is over-under is 39.5 is what I got it at MGM. It's a lot. We're not asking for the world here, but he's going to line up in the slot. He ran over 60% of his snaps last week in the slot. He's bigger and a tougher matchup for Devontae Maddox. I have 40 yards. I mean, I'm not asking for the world. Maybe a touchdown. We could throw that in there. That's my first one. My second one, you guys want kickers? All right, this one you can find on DK. Over 107.5 combined field goal yards. I mean, I love this. I ran this out last year. It's a great prop. I love that they offer this. Only at DK. So I'm predicting 4 field goals in the game, and you have 2 of the league's better kickers in Jake Elliott and Younghoe Koo. So basically, that's 4 30-yarders, and we clear this easily. Even 3 40-yarders, we clear this easily. I mean, think about it. 2 55-yarders, we clear this easily. Just saying.
The kicker thing is crazy in the NFL now.
Yes.
50-yarders are casual these days. I mean, they're 56, run them on out there. Tarico was talking about it last night. Danny, what you got?
Automatic. They're automatic. Like, if you don't have a guy that hits a 55-yarder in his sleep, you're going to lose in this league. Like, it's that simple now. These will win games. EC, I love your prop. It coincides perfectly with mine. You have to show me, is that under specials? Because I'm betting that as well. I'm taking Jake Elliott over 1.5 field goals. EC's projecting 4 of them. Give me 2 for Jake Elliott. I think, again, we talked about how the Falcons were bend, don't break against the Steelers, despite getting terrible field position over and over again, which could very well happen again in this game. They were able to bend and not break. And I think 6 field goals for the Steelers. Why not 2 for Elliott this week? I love it, and I love EC's prop too. Give me 2, a couple 50-yarders, 3 of them. And if we get 3, we're hitting this the way that these guys' legs are showing in 2024.
I'm also on the Kyle Pitts bandwagon. I went with over receptions at 3.5. We got the Jordan Davis fan down here, and we mentioned Jalen Carter as well. Those guys are going to the Falcons offensive line is really, really good, but they're going to create some interior pressure. And I think you'll see with Cousins and, complete lack of mobility, we think we'll see some quick hitters. Maybe you give Drake London some room to run down the field. Same with Darnell Mooney. And then if it's not open, Kyle Pitts is going to be maneuvering around underneath. I think he gets over those 3.5 receptions. I also have Bijan Robinson, same sort of theory, right? Bijan over 30.5 receiving yards, where he's he gets good volume in the receiving game. He's an excellent receiver. He can also break off some longer passes or some longer receptions, and short yardage, picks up those yards, gets there easily. By the way, if you want to sprinkle on it, Bijan Robinson, the race to 20, first to 20 receiving yards, Bijan is 14-1. Don't hate that either. Proppy, you got some overs on Bijan as well, don't you?
I do. I have a trio of picks. Start with the aforementioned Bijan Robinson. I like the spot for him to be established on the ground here, going over 68.5 rushing yards. Something great happened in week 1 for Bijan. He had 89% of the backfield touches. That is a career high, because last year he was in close to an even timeshare with Tyler Algier. That was not the case week 1. Finally, the Falcons figured out they need to give their guy the football. Didn't have a huge stat line, but the usage was certainly encouraging. I also like this matchup against an Eagles front seven that really struggled week 1 stopping the run. Only the Rams were worse in EPA allowed per rush. The Eagles were 31st week 1. So good matchup for Bijan on the ground, who I anticipate is going to see a significant volume as long as we're looking at a competitive or a neutral game environment. So I like Bijan to establish the run and go over 68.5 rushing yards. Then I'm going to fade a teammate of him. I love this spot. Ray McCloud, under 2.5 receptions. Phenomenal price point here, plus $1.25. Week 1, he led the team, a team that consists of Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Bijan Robinson. Ray McCloud led the team in targets. That has to change. That is inexplicable, in my opinion. He had 7 targets, turned that into 4 receptions for 53 yards, I believe, was the leading receiver from the Falcons. He's played 78 games in the NFL. That was his 3rd highest receiving total since he's been in the league. I am fairly certain that this was an outlier performance from Ray McCloud, and this will likely go down as the most targets he receives in a game. I'm talking about his week 1 performance against the Steelers, who really struggle covering the slot, and it was an advantageous matchup for him. So won't be the case. I think he's going to see a lot of Avonte Maddox, who is the Eagles' nickel corner, one of the better nickel corners in the league. So I love fading Ray McCloud under 2.5 receptions, especially when we're looking at plus $1.25 on the price point. And then last but not least, my favorite prop from the game, I'm backing Dallas Goedert over 42.5 receiving yards. We talked about the absence of A.J. Brown at length early in the stream. I really think that Dallas Goedert will be among the biggest beneficiaries of this. The Eagles have a very concentrated target distribution. Goddard, along with Devontae Smith, are really the only 2 pass catchers on the Eagles offense that have a reliable target floor here. I also think this is a great matchup for Goddard as well. Atlanta last season gave up the 4th most yards to opposing tight ends, really struggled covering tight ends here. So I look for Goddard to be heavily involved. I also like his alt lines as well. He has one of the deeper A dots of any tight end in the league. So I think he's going to draw additional targets deep down the field in the splash zone, which are very valuable targets. So I look for Goddard to keep the chains moving for Jalen Hurts here. Love him over 42.5 yards. I like him over 4.5 receptions at plus money. I'm also going to be sprinkling on his alt figures as well, probably up to 70 and 80 yards.
Kens, what does fire up the hamsters and those fancy graphics and tell us what the model likes this evening?
Hard to follow up on Proppy there. I like when he gets on his roll with his props here, which is very exciting. And I do like Dallas Goedert as well. We'll see that later coming up. But we like both running backs in this game to go over their receiving yard prop. Bijan being one of them. I know you like this play, Brinson, as well. We have him projected for 43, and he hit 43 last week. He had 5 catches. We're talking about Kirk Cousins. likely going to need to dump the ball off quickly. And I think Bijan could be a good target for that. His receiving line is at 4.5 with juice to the under. So most expected around 4, but he does average 8.5 yards per reception. So I think this line should be somewhere around 35, really. So again, I talked about the chemistry or lack thereof with Drake London and Kyle Pitts so far. He's 5-3 in his last 8 games to this, and 3 of those games were 50 plus receiving yards. So I think he's in prime position to have a good night. And then Saquon Barkley. We're talking about an Eagles offense without A.J. Brown right now. We have him projected for 28 receiving yards, so a lot of value there as well. But I think this should at least be 20.5, considering he had 23 yards in his debut and averages 28.6 on his career. He's 70% to this over on the road. And again, we look at adding up all of these passing yard props. You look at Hurts, his passing yard prop is 228.5. Okay. Then you look at Devontae Smith combined with Dallas Goedert combined with Dotson, their receiving yard lines only add up to 146. So you're looking around like 82 yards of where is that going to go? I don't think they're all going to go to Barkley, but I would like to assume that maybe 25% of those 82 yards will be his. So I think we can definitely go over this number.
I dig it. I dig it. We're very excited to tell you guys that we have not one, but 2 parlays this evening. An EC/Goose parlay. Proppy, what's Goose like? Goose for the record. I assume everybody who's I mean, I know you guys know, but if everybody's watching this knows. Like they're like, what is Brinson doing here? But they're like, oh yeah, of course, like Propstarz cat. You know, like it's like no, obviously he's here. What is Goose like this evening?
Goose just made an appearance, so he is ready to get this parlay out to you guys. It's 4 selections here. We're looking at plus 430 here. There it is, right up on the screen in all of its glory. Starting with a Bijan anytime touchdown. I like to build these same game parlays. Usually the foundation being my favorite anytime touchdown scorer. I like Bijan to get in the end zone here. I'm going to that prop that we just talked about, under 2.5 receptions for Ray McLeod. I think week 1 was a massive outlier performance for him there. Then we're going Dallas Goedert, who I also mentioned, over 25 receiving yards, and Bijan to go over 50 rushing yards. Put it all together, plus 430. These are all 3 props that I obviously love, and we're just going to take some alt lines here for them outside of Ray and add the Bijan anytime tutty. And we're going to take this one to the cashier.
I love it. And Goose even has like I love the little graphic. EC, what you got?
I mean, how can I argue with Goose's parlay? That's a winner right there. All right, here's what we got here. We're going to go a 7-leg parlay. All right, let's start with the Falcons plus 7.5. I think the game will be close. We'll go over 40.5. That way Danny's under can still hit. Kyle Pitts over 25 receiving yards. Bijan Robinson over 50 rushing yards and over 25 receiving yards. Dallas Goedert over 25 receiving yards and Saquon over 50 rushing yards. It's a 7-leg parlay. Take a screenshot of that one. Plus 625 at BetMGM. I feel like this is all fairly reasonable here. Agrees with a lot of the picks that we had on the show. I did not know that, Proppy was going to give out Goddard beforehand, for example. So I'm glad that we're all synergy. Same with Bijan. Same that we kind of agree here. We're on the same type of players. Let's hit it.
I love it. I really love it. You know what else I love? First-time touchdowns. Or first touchdown scores, excuse me. We all had our first touchdown bet called back before, and BetMGM is giving you a second chance with BetMGM's Pro Football Second Chance. Place any first touchdown score bet, and if your player doesn't score first but scores second, you get your entire stake back in cash. No opt-in required. Here's how it works. You place a pregame straight first touchdown score bet in any NFL game. If your player scores the first touchdown of the game, you'll win your wager like you normally would. If your player scores the second touchdown of the game, you'll get your stake back in cash. It's that simple. Log into BetMGM for more details.
Oh, we got a muter.
I'm muted. That's something I do all the time. I started a bunch of questions about specific props. You want to hit those? Let's hit those real quick just before we move on to the first touchdown scorer. Sorry, that's my bad. I was working the chat, not working the rundown. You see, it's a delicate balance of it's like driving and betting parlays at the same time. It's probably not legal. It's not healthy. Okay, Jalen Hurts under 9.5 rush attempts from Palwiana seems too high for me.
I'd lean under there personally. I think it's a good spot with Saquon being more utilized. I do think the Eagles want to keep Hurts a little more in the pocket this year, as we've seen in the past couple seasons, consecutive years. Jalen Hurts has gotten worn down, I think, from all the rushing attempts that he has early in the season. Come November, December, he's been playing her a bevy of injuries, and I think they want to limit his exposure. So I don't mind that. I agree. I do think it seems a little high.
The one game script where you get completely hosed on that is 2 tush pushes, a couple scrambles, and then 3 kneel downs at the end. And Eagles
of course.
So that's just be wary of that if the Eagles are up big in that spot. This isn't a question, but Rick loves Hurts interception.
Shout out to Rick Funcannon. Shout out to Rick Funcannon. He's a longtime SportsLine subscriber and chat legend.
Great
He
guy.
is a chat
Shout
legend.
out Rick.
100% agree.
We have Hurts projected for 0.82. So basically, I think that's worth it unless you're paying a pretty tough price on it. I would probably not take it
agreed.
more than minus 115, honestly.
And
he's looked like he wants to throw picks, like especially in week 1. Like he was like,
I hold my breath every time that ball comes out.
lots of playmakers in that Atlanta secondary as well. Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, AJ Terrell. So certainly lots of capable guys there of grabbing a pick too. So I like his chances to throw an interception as well.
You want to go gal brain out the wazoo for DFS, by the way. Fire up a Falcons DST captain and just get really weird.
I'm not sure I'd go that far, Brinson. I mean, I know you want to deviate. That's a little too much.
Oh, no, you're throwing $20 away. But if the Falcons have sometimes have a defensive touchdown, you're sweating a milli for at least 30 minutes.
Okay.
David asks, Eagles team total over 23.5 and 24.5, 23.5 more juice because it's lower, of course. 24 is a key number, right, Danny? I mean, if you're going to, you like the under, so I'm guessing you wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump for joy at team total overs, but obviously those numbers are very different. The 24.5, I wonder what line he has that at. But I would lean towards the under. I do think this Falcons defense is going to show up and make it potentially a close game. I will say for Jalen Hurts, I do think the Eagles will win the game if I have to give a pick on the who I think will take this game. He's 18-2 straight up as a home favorite, and as a primetime night home favorite, 8-1-1 against the spread. I know they're just pretty trends that go back to other teams and other seasons, but he does well under the bright lights. So yeah, it's interesting there. I do think the Eagles will have success in this game for those reasons. Hurts loves a night game, but I don't know about more than 24.5 points. I think it'll be right around the cusp of that number, and the book's got it right.
Yeah, if you're going to go 24.5, you might as well just do alt over 27.5 and hope that they get 4 touchdowns and get the plus money. That's probably not plus EV, but whatever. Any opinion on the Eagles, Falcons, Eagles? We told you we like the, you could check out, we'll have our recap at the end. Sorry, I started everything. Bijan over 14.5 rushing attempts.
We have
Go ahead, Ken.
We got him at 16. You guys give the color, but for what it's worth, we don't disagree. If anything, we agree.
Okay. All right. Kirk Cousins longest completion. Well, I kind of like you can get his longest completion under 34.5 yards.
And we talked about it yesterday, right? Like the only way you're going to lose that on guys that are throwing less than 20 yards downfield is if they break one off. You had the Diggs longest reception under last night, Brinson. You mentioned that. I think he went under by a yard. I think he had that 21 yarder. I think it's 21.5 or something. But to the point, it's only going to lose if someone breaks off a big play. Welcome to the NFL. But in terms of the way Cousins is throwing the ball, I mean, I don't think you're going to see him uncork too many bombs.
Field conditions played a big part in the Eagles week 1, but they were giving up a lot of big plays on the perimeter. I think the secondary, they're implementing new pieces. I think it's going to take time to understand this Vic Fangio defense. So I do think there will be some spots if Kirk can drive the field. So that's actually one I'd avoid. I don't think it's necessarily I don't think we're seeing Kirk Cousins. I think game 1 could be an aberration as far as what he looked like. I think there's a chance that was just him shaking off some rust. I think you hold and you wait to see how he looks week 2 before you start fading numbers like that, particularly against an opponent like the Eagles, who are vulnerable to give up big plays on the perimeter.
Proppy, our guy, Uncle Dave Richard from CBS Sports Fantasy, gave that out as one of his plays on the Friday prop show, the under 34.5 for Kirk Cousins. We can't go against him, so I got to say that's a no play there.
And you know what's interesting is I think I read that they didn't run, speaking more of the Zach Robinson-led offense, they didn't run one play-action pass. Not one.
No, yeah,
so,
not once, yeah.
If there is some regression to the mean, some variance, maybe he, looks to get a play action and uncorks one just to say, hey, let me see if I got my legs underneath me. And maybe it results in a long one. So, I like Proppy's points on why to avoid that.
Personnel-wise, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts are all above average deep receivers as well.
Yeah. I like to stay away.
Okay. Kylie Reynolds says, Kens, I'm on Ray over 2.5 receptions. Now, here's where I would caution you because we also have Brandon in the chat who says, I took Sia's play Ray under 3.5 catches. If Proppy and Sia are both on the under on Ray, I might ride the under on Ray. That's all I'm saying is I might look towards that under. I don't know if I would fade those two sharps.
I already did. I got that in.
There you go. Bijan over combined receiving and rushing yards from Shea. I'm here for I'm captaining Bijan across the board in DFS, and I like his over receiving yards, and prop likes his over rushing yards. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, I like that too.
This was interesting with Saquon and Bijan from Eric, 130 plus yards combined. If it's rushing, it's got to be rushing.
I believe that's the boost on DraftKings he's referring to, which are always trappy. EC, you think stay away from the boosts?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Danny. We avoid those. We don't go anywhere near that. That's always been you know what? There's other ways to make money. Listen to everybody else on this show. You make a lot more money than that boost. Stay away.
Yeah,
I'd play that. I'd play that personally.
Okay.
I don't know. Probably every time, Proppy, they put one of those out there.
The boosts
are destined to lose.
The boosts are put out there basically to get people wins. So I think a lot of they're capped as well. You can rarely bet more than
it's like $10 or something like that.
It's like $10 exactly. They're usually plus EV.
Every time I bet those,
I love the narrative of like. Sorry, EC, go ahead.
No, I said every time I bet those, I lose.
I was gonna say I love the narrative of like what the books are doing with those. Oh, it's a trap. We're gonna all lose. Oh, the wages are capped. It's an easy win, so you think you're good, and then they get you to spend some more money. Right? I could see both scenarios for sure. But I will say, someone in the chat asked him the Bills-Dolphins game. Tyreek Hill, 25 plus receiving yards in the first quarter. Too good to be true. It's boosted. And Proppy, you said no. He gets covered down in the first quarter, and it didn't even come close to hitting. So I feel that could be trappy too. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, two quick thoughts on that. One, if like Kay Adams and Rob Gronkowski are both holding footballs and back to back, like and they're telling me to bet something, I'm probably not going to. And then two, if I do all my like dumbass home run parlays on FanDuel. So if I get a free bet on FanDuel, I can put anything I want on it. But if I like try to do a boost on DraftKings, it's like $10.
Well, look at it this way: Bijan's rushing line is 68.5. Saquon's is 78.5. So you combine them, it's significantly more than 130. So you're getting a good value on it, especially considering if you like one of them to go over. So yeah.
Last one real quick. Jalen Hurts 4 touchdown passes, 21-0 or 21-1. Excuse me. That like the problem is there is so much variance with him throwing the ball towards the end zone. He doesn't have AJ Brown, which is a huge loss. And if you throw to the end zone, you can easily just get a pass interference call, and all of a sudden it's a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown. So like anytime 4 touchdowns, including passing and rushing, maybe I'd be on board with Jalen. I still wouldn't bet it. I think you need way more than 21 plus 21 or 2,100.
This is exactly Brinson. He has to throw exactly 4 touchdowns. You
might
as well just go and buy a lottery ticket. Just go out and pick the Powerball numbers. Say I like these numbers, and I'm going to go bet. I mean, you might as well just
should be like 200-1. I'd rather I'd rather bet Jahan Dotson to have 2 touchdowns, which is probably much longer odds.
Yeah, to do something stupid like bet Pete Alonso home run tonight with Bijan Robinson anytime touchdown. What kind of idiot would do that? All right, moving. This guy who has 2 thumbs and bet that stupid bet. Moving along to the models. Wait, no, what am I doing here? I got
Let's
twisted.
hit the gems. Let's hit the gems.
Let's hit the gems. Thank you. You already did the model. Did you do the anytime touchdown?
I didn't, but I can give him. I'll just say I'm super quick. We don't have to throw the graphic up or anything. The 3 guys we like tonight: Saquon Barkley and Bijan Robinson, just for the ideas that they could be a rushing touchdown or receiving touchdown. Especially love that for Barkley without AJ Brown here. Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's plus basically you can get him around even money plus 105 right now. Just because Jason Kelsey's gone, they're not necessarily leading the league in rushing touchdowns right now. I still think him at the goal line should always be worth a sprinkle of a bet. So I think we're just getting a better price now. And I still think it's a pretty solid shot.
I dig it. I'm going to keep screwing up this rundown until they buy me a prompter that I can put right here that I can actually read instead of like craning over my microphone. So first touchdown scorers. We still do not have one. I guess we're only, it's the end of week 2. It's time to get right though. Kens, we'll go right back to you.
I'm just ready for a tight end. If I'm doing this, it's going to be a tight end. I don't know why. I just feel like it is. I love Dallas Goedert. We've talked about him all show. I saw someone asking about his props again. The answer is yes, if it is pertaining to an over. That's how we feel about him tonight, especially in the red zone. I like the tight ends to get the first touchdown. No A.J. Brown. This is his night. 13-1 is pretty solid value.
Danny, you're in the same boat too.
Yeah, wow. I put this in and then I saw that we're all on it. And you know what? Let's all cash together and get our first gem. It's been chalk also, once again, wide receiver 1, Nico Collins. So what are you going to do? We will look to, cash in big for you guys. But this will probably be the chalkiest one I picked so far. Last night I had Texans defense. So going a little less out on a limb here and going with a middle of the field target in the end zone without A.J. Brown. Probably hammer at home, but I think that Goddard is in line to see some action tonight. Why not in the red zone? 1,300.
By the way, shout out my son. He's at his mom's house. He still showed back up, Robbie. Thanks for joining the chat, pal. You're the best with that creepy Five Nights at Freddy's avatar you have since uploaded. Hey, look, I'll take all the viewers I can get, even if it's a 10-year-old kid. Proppy, you got Dallas Goedert too. I got to bet Dallas Goedert.
I have Dallas Goedert as well, as Ken and Danny mentioned. I love me some Dallas Goedert tonight. He's heavily utilized in the red zone as well. I think he's going to see an uptick in targets and usage here. Excellent matchup for him. Also, if you are a longtime viewer of this stream, this is my 4th year doing this and competing for gems. I believe I have 7 or 8 lifetime gems, and one of them is on Dallas Goedert. So he has a soft spot in my heart forever for getting me a gem previously. Let's get number 2 back in the big man.
You always have a soft. You always remember your first gem. I'm Zay
Josh
Flowers.
Allen. Josh Allen.
Zay Flowers will always have a special place in my heart.
That's why I could never actually hate Matt Kuchar because he won in Puerto Rico for me one time. Danny, EC, you're going in a different same direction, different team.
Well, listen, I mean, after hearing you talk about Jahan Dotson before the stream, I wish I could change my pick because I know you're big on Dotson. No, I'm going Kyle Pitts here. I think he's going to have a nice game against the Eagles. We're going to stick with him. I'm giving out his receiving yards. So why the heck not at 15-1? He scored last week, the only Falcons pass catcher with a touchdown this season. That's not saying much, but let's go with it again at 15-1.
I'm going to go Darnell Mooney, 20-1. I'm just going too far down the board, but I do think let's get the Falcons with the ball first or get a stop. And then Mooney is the prime candidate for, you guys think I can't play out from under center and like run play action? I'll show you. Roll out, bomb to Mooney. Falcons go up 7-0, and we put up diamond hands. The chat asked for Robbie to give out a first touchdown pick. We'll get one for him from the next game. Let's get to the recap because we have run over our allotted time per usual. Sorry, I'm nothing if not loquacious. I've got the Falcons plus 5.5. Kyle Pitts over 3.5 receptions. Bijan over 30.5 receiving yards. Proppy has Dallas Goedert over 42.5 receiving yards. Ray under 2.5 receptions. Bijan over 16.5 rushing yards. Danny's got under 46. Jake Elliott over field goals 1.5. And EC has Falcons plus 5.5. Kyle Pitts over 39.5 receiving yards. And over 107.5 combined total field goal yards. Kens, what's the model on?
We are on both running back receiving props today. We're going Saquon Barkley over 19.5 receiving yards and Bijan over 30.5 receiving yards, like you, Brinson.
We love it. All right, let's cash these tickets. Let's make some money. If you hit something big, tweet it at SportsLine. We will be back. This show will be back Thursday, early edge, every day, 10 a.m. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. For Danny, for Kens, for Prop, for EC, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.
Go Birds.